Can the IWC shut the up for long enough for me to explain why Logan Paul and Cody Rhodes make sense as a main event?
What is up, guys, and welcome back to the Daily WrestleCast here on the Casual Wrestling channel. It is Monday, May 13th. I am the host of the show, the Notorious Nerdy D, the voice of the casual wrestling fans, and each and every day I drop in for a few moments to talk to you guys, the casual wrestling faction, about the biggest things going on in the world of professional wrestling. If you enjoy the casual wrestling content, please take a second to join the casual wrestling faction. The link is in the description of this video. It is 100% free to join, and that is where we do the exclusive giveaways, polls, and we drop all of the bonus content for this channel. I did find out there was an issue last week for the audio listeners on Spotify. They were doing some maintenance to the way you log into their system, so the show was not being processed and put on the feed. So I know we missed a couple episodes last week on the audio side, so those are being updated as we speak, and they should be available by the end of today. You should be able to catch up on anything you missed. If you want to do that, that's up to you. But let's start the day, as always, with a little bit of a weekend update. I got three stories for you guys today to talk about. The first one is a new report from Fightful Select on Saturday claims that Becky Lynch has approximately 3 weeks left on her current deal, and as of today, she has not signed a new contract with WWE. So cue the IWC. Let them start photoshopping the Becky Lynch's All Elite graphics. The wrestling nutbags are in their basements pounding away at their keyboards right now, losing their shit. Even though not one of those basement rats understand how marriage works, how business works, or how storytelling works. Right now, guys, Seth Rollins is gainfully employed by WWE. WWE is by far the top wrestling company in the world right now. It would be literal career suicide for Becky Lynch to make the jump from the biggest wrestling show in the entire world over to a women's division that is a shit show, and to add herself to the toy box that is in Tony Khan's office. I bet right now, I will make a bet right now with anybody who wants this bet. I'll bet 3 large pizzas that Becky Lynch never steps inside of an AEW ring in her life. I will make that bet right now. Look, These kinds of stories make for great headlines. There's a story to be had here if you want to entertain this, if you want to play into the idea that Becky Lynch would leave WWE, would leave her top spot, would leave being world champion to downgrade to a different company. Sure, if you want to have that conversation, let's have that conversation. But there's also a storyline to be had here. There's a storyline to be had by Triple H and Becky Lynch where, if she loses the belt at King of the Ring or in the near future, she can step away and act disgruntled and take some time off, and it builds intrigue about what is Becky Lynch going to do. But there is zero chance, I will repeat, there is zero chance that Triple H puts the strap on Becky Lynch after Rhea Ripley gets injured if he even has 10% thought that Becky Lynch would leave the company, if he even have 5% thought that Becky Lynch would leave the company. He's not doing that. Becky Lynch is a WWE lifer. She's not going anywhere. Seth Rollins is a WWE lifer. He's not going anywhere. Those are 2 people that Triple H is not going to let walk out of a WWE door. As much as Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins get on my nerves, as much as I believe that Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins play the same character on TV, it is not lost on me how important they are to the ecosphere that is WWE. That's not lost. They are the fabric that makes up WWE. I may not like them, but I understand their importance. Now, this is the point where I tell you guys, I'm so happy I'm not a wrestling journalist. I'm so happy that I don't try to create news. I'm glad that I just get to shoot the shit with you guys and talk about these stories that come out for 30 minutes a day, and that's what I do. I would hate to be Sean Ross Sapp, to have to make these stories up, to have to dig in holes that don't exist so that you can feel important. Like, what is this? I guess he just has to feel connected, like he's an insider, like he's deeper inside the product than everybody else is. But I'd rather just shoot the shit with you guys than to say, kind of corporate speak to try to make up stories to try and get in good with AEW and WWE. I'd rather just say whatever the fuck I want than to be pigeonholed to an agenda. And it feels like these websites at this point they just say whatever they think is going to get a click. How stupid do you have to be to write this bullshit? How bad do your subscribers have to get that Fightful goes, this is a story we should run. This is something we should talk about on Monday. And before you say it, before anybody says it in the comment section, Nerdy D, you're talking about it. Yeah, that's what I do. I decipher the bullshit for the casual fans. That's the guy I am. I will sift through the Sean Ross Sapp bullshit and tell you guys what you should and shouldn't pay attention to. But Becky Lynch is not leaving WWE. Seth Rollins is not leaving WWE. Like, that's not happening. It's just not happening. Second story of the day here is apparently Bryan Danielson has talked about being in the final stage of his AEW contract and probably the final year of his pro wrestling career altogether, stating that Wemby is on the top of his bucket list. Now, Daniel Bryan's career is one that is confusing to someone like me. On one hand, I will argue that he's possibly the best pound-for-pound pro wrestler that I have ever watched in person in my life. He's a guy who continuously defied every rule that I have for professional wrestling. He defies my size rule. He defies my logic rule. He defies everything. He's a guy who at points in time was not only the best in the ring, but he was probably the best draw in the entire wrestling business. Now, saying that, for Tony Khan to never fully capitalize on those characteristics, on the potential, on the drawing power of Daniel Bryan is absolutely insane to me. To have Bryan Danielson on your roster and for him to have never been the AEW World Championship is completely asinine. I don't care if Daniel Bryan walked into your office, Tony Khan, and told you, I don't want to be a champion. I would have taken a stapler and stapled the damn belt around his waist and said, I don't really care. You're doing what's best for the company. So here we sit with a guy who left WWE arguably as one of the top guys in the company. And so what is his AEW legacy? What is it that we're going to talk about when Daniel Bryan hangs up the boots? Is it dream matches? Is that it? That's what this guy wanted his AEW legacy to be. That's cool, but I'm not into it. And that doesn't do it for me. And I understand. Once again, it's not lost on me that me and Daniel Bryan would never sit down and have one wrestling conversation that we agreed on. We are complete opposites when it comes to professional wrestling and how we view the sport. He is literally the anti-casual wrestling guy, and that's okay because he stayed true to who he is from beginning to end. But to be content with just having dream match after dream match after dream match with no actual purpose in this run, more power to you, man. I just don't get it. You're doing it your way. That's dope. But when AEW finally decides, because you know it's coming, when AEW finally decides to pull that trigger on an AEW Hall of Fame, what's the justification for putting Bryan Danielson in? What's the justification? Dream matches? Can you get into the AEW Hall of Fame based on what you did in the WWE? Can you get into the AEW Hall of Fame based on having one tag team title run? You got to tell me what the qualifications are to get him in. I feel like even as a company as young as AEW, to get into the Hall of Fame should be justified by having a world title run or at least one singles title run. That's what I feel like. I wonder right now what Wembley looks like this year. I'm still curious. Can they do it twice? Can they pull it off twice? Can they replicate the interest that they had last year? Or will the hype die down? Are the ratings just trending too far down and to the left for them to make people care? Wrestling is global. WWE is taking their show on the road. There's not as much of a hunger for this product overseas that there was last year when they kind of struck lightning. You know, all I can say about Daniel Bryan, he's the anomaly. He is the one true guy that when I talk about Bryan Danielson, I put respect on his name being an IWC guy, because he's a guy who has stayed true to what he believes. I truly believe, out of everybody, Kenny Omega says it, Young Bucks, all these guys, they say that they would happily wrestle inside an empty arena. I don't buy that bullshit. Bryan Danielson is somebody that I believe just wants to wrestle. Doesn't matter how many people are in the stands. He just wants to put the best guy in front of me and let me wrestle. And I can absolutely respect that. Third story of the day here is Dana White says that WWE premium live events will go back to Sundays because the UFC is on Saturdays and Power Slap is on Fridays, and there are going to be TKO branded events. Now, I will believe that WWE PLEs are moving to Sundays when somebody from WWE comes out and makes that official. That's it. That's only when I'm believing it. I do think, though, on the other hand, that Daddy Dana wants the events moved over. I think he wants them moved to Sunday because Dana White doesn't want to have to compete for attention on Saturdays when he puts together these weak-ass UFC cards. I imagine that there are going to be some premium live events that will go to Sunday when Daddy Dana steps up and goes, we need to clear the path. We need the weekend. This is our weekend. But I don't think that WWE's just rolling over and giving Saturdays back to Dana White full time. The events that are during the day, they don't really matter. That's fine. We can do 1 o'clock premium live events on Sunday. But you're going to have to convince me that ending at 11 p.m. on Sunday night makes sense for a larger portion of the WWE audience. If that's the choice they're going to make, then you might as well just change it back to TVMA. Because little kids are going to, you're eliminating their ability to watch premium live events on school nights. I don't know if there's as much crossover between WWE and MMA as Dana White or even Vince McMahon wanted to imagine. It's hard to be a hardcore fan of both products. I know that Dana has talked about WWE and how Vince was shitty to him, but there's a little more of a symbiotic relationship now that WWE's under the TKO umbrella. And that goes as far as Dana White coming out and saying that he is okay with UFC fighters that want to work programs inside of WWE, which is something I never thought I'd hear Daddy Dana say. That's extremely interesting, but here's the problem. That's great on paper. It's great to imagine that. But if you remember someone named Ronda Rousey, it's a lot easier to say that than to go do that. I still think that there's a sour taste in most WWE fans' mouth over how Ronda Rousey made the jump from MMA to WWE. I get it. There's guys like Derek Lewis that want to do it. They want to test the water. But it's not as simple as just being a great athlete and having a great personality. You can't just make that transition. These guys are going to have to go through NXT, and I don't know how many of these guys actually want to train to do this. I think they just get to grab a microphone, they think they just get to talk shit, and they think they get to get in the ring and throw around our best guys. That's not how it works. You've got to find your position. There's a couple guys, Conor McGregor, maybe Sugar Sean. Those guys warrant just jumping right in, working a 1 or 2 month program and getting out. But the rest of you guys are going to have to work. The rest of you guys are going to have to put in the work. If you want to make the jump from MMA to WWE, you're going to have to go through NXT. You're going to have to refine your wrestling skills, work on how you talk on a microphone. You're not skipping the line. You're not jumping to the front. This isn't come over, put a title on your shoulder. Not everybody can be Logan Paul, and that is the truth. That's enough of the news today. Let's switch gears and do a little bit of tourney talk. So we did it, guys. We survived the first round of the King and Queen of the Ring tournaments. And I would say at this point, I think you guys agree, everything looks like it should. This is what we thought it was going to look like after week one. Gunther beating Sheamus, Dragunov beating Ricochet, Jey Uso beating Finn Balor, Kofi beat Rey Mysterio at a live event, Randy Orton beat AJ Styles, Tama Tonga defeated Angelo Dawkins, Carmelo Hayes defeated Baron Corbin, and LA Knight defeated Santos Escobar. That's par for the course. That's what we were expecting. That's how I saw it going on the men's side. Now, on the women's side, we had Io Sky defeated Natalya, Lyra Valkyria defeated Dakota Kai, Zoe Stark defeated Ivy Nile, Shayna Baszler beat Maxine Dupree, Bianca Belair defeated Candice LeRae, Jade Cargill defeated Piper Niven, Nia Jax defeated Naomi, and Tiffany Stratton defeated Michin. Once again, like I said, no big surprises. But things this week are going to get a little spicy. Things this week are going to get a little extra crispy. We got some matchups that look a little better than last week. At first glance, I know the IWC may think they have this thing completely figured out, but I'm going to tell you, I'm going to call myself Nerdy D, the mentalist today, and I'm going to write down a couple predictions, fold them up, and put them in the desk drawer, and I will open them up next week so you guys can see how wrong you were and how correct I was. But how about this? I'll write down 2 major spoilers on this piece of paper right here. And then we will open it up later this week so that I can show you guys you need to pay attention. Give me 1 second. All right, predictions are down. They're written down. I'll open one up on Tuesday, and I'll open one up on Monday next week, and you guys prepare to have your minds blown. But this is what we're looking at this week. We're looking at Gunther versus Kofi Kingston. We're looking at Jey Uso versus Ilya Dragunov. We're looking at Tama Tonga versus LA Knight, and we're looking at Carmelo Hayes versus Randy Orton. 2 of these matches, guys, you don't need special powers to predict. You don't need to be a mentalist like me in order to predict them. Gunther is going to take out Kofi Kingston, and Randy Orton is going to beat Carmelo Hayes, hands down. No reason to believe anything else is going to happen in those matches. But it gets interesting. It gets interesting on the other side of this thing. LA Knight, the Bloodline. How do you book that? Do you book the Bloodline to continue to impede the progress of LA Knight moving forward? Could work. I'm not mad at that idea. Do you switch LA Knight over to a full-blown program against the Bloodline coming out of King of the Ring? I like it. I'm not mad at that idea. Like, the Bloodline could easily cheat LA Knight out of the match and rope him into a trio situation with Kevin Owens and Randy Orton moving forward to take on the Bloodline. The Bloodline's going to have something to do, and you're going to have to use top stars. You have to sacrifice top stars in order to keep the Bloodline looking strong. So I'm going to say, I'll make a prediction here right now. Tama Tonga beats LA Knight. LA Knight's not going to the finals, guys. I know the IWC thinks he's going to the finals. He's not going to the finals. But I assume that the most exciting match is going to be Jey Uso versus Ilya Dragunov. This is where the IWC is losing their shit. This is the one the IWC thinks they have figured out. This is where some of you loyal casual wrestler listeners are forgetting what WWE actually is. Jey Uso is the first round draft pick of Monday Night Raw. Jey Uso is the guy that lit France up. Jey Uso is the guy that they are talking about his entrance in the news and tweaking and making sure that fans respond a certain way. But Jey Uso is also the guy that's on the collision course with the Bloodline. Do you start that at King of the Ring? Do you put Tama Tonga in the ring with Jey Uso and start that feud? Or do you have the Bloodline cost him the match? So I'm not making a prediction here. I wrote this one down. I've got the answer on this piece of paper right here, and I will open it up tomorrow to prove to you guys that I was right all along. But y'all guys can keep explaining Dragunov to me. I'm good with it. I just don't understand. I don't understand Dragunov. Y'all keep telling me how intense Ilia Dranov is, but I'm not sure how that factors into the WWE style of booking. You guys got to explain to me, the official WWE ambassador for Friday Night SmackDown. Y'all got to explain to me what makes Dragunov more special than Carmelo Hayes. What makes Dragunov more special than a guy like Xavier Woods? What does he do that Xavier doesn't do? What does the IWC see in this guy? At 5'9", and yes, I said at 5'9". Mike, stop trying to pretend he's 5'10". He's 5'9". I have it on good authority that Ilia Dranov is 5'9", 187 pounds. I don't see what makes him worthy of beating Jey Uso in the second round of the King of the Ring tournament. Now, having said that, like I said, not making a prediction yet. You guys will have to wait till tomorrow to see who I predicted to win that match. So I wrote it down. I'll open it up tomorrow. Let's switch over to the women's side. The women's side is a little less cut and dry to me. I know how I would book it, but I don't know if me and Triple H's vision align on how you book the women's side of this bracket. What's left is Io Sky versus Shayna Baszler, Lia Valkyria versus Zoe Stark, Jade Cargill versus Nia Jax, Bianca Belair versus Tiffany Stratton. I think that the only true lock here that I'm just confident is not losing is Jade Cargill. Not losing this week. Not happening. She beats Nia Jax. She's going to display her strength. We're putting Jade on display so everybody can see how great she is and what her potential is in the future. I would be on alert. I'd be on alert, guys. Spoiler alert. This could be a squash match. If you really want to put Jade over, Nia Jax has not been squashed. This would be a great opportunity to have Jade come out and hit that big kick right when the bell rings. Pick up the win and establish dominance on the SmackDown roster. Just saying, a strong possibility. Switch over to Lyra versus Zoe. This is a coin flip for me. I don't know enough about any of them to know what Triple H is thinking when it comes to this. My instincts say this is a Lyra Valkyria match, that she sneaks a win, that they continue to introduce her to the WWE, that Becky Lynch continues to try and put her over, and then it kind of balances out the following week's match, where I think Io Sky is going to go over Shayna Baszler. That's what I believe. And I think that Io Sky and Shayna Baszler is going to be what the IWC calls the match of the night, even though I won't understand it. That's going to be what the IWC says is the best wrestling match in WWE in a long time. I'm just throwing predictions out here. These are predictions, not spoilers. So that sets up Io and Lyra on one side of the bracket, and Jade versus... Let's talk about it. I'm not going to make a prediction here. I'm going to write this one down again. I will, though, on the other hand, give you guys some expert analysis that you can sit on while you guys make your predictions for Friday. I don't know. Can you do Jade Cargill versus Bianca Belair in Saudi Arabia? Is it too soon? They're tag team partners. It'd be fun to watch, but is it really time? That's what this is all about. It's about timing. Is it really time? There's other things you could do. Feels like Damage Control versus Jade Cargill would be fun. That's a Saudi-type match, right? Io's over enough to be a part of that match. Jade Cargill could be Queen of the Ring. That makes sense. I think she could play that up right. What do you do with Bianca? She continues to sacrifice herself. She continues to sacrifice herself for the betterment of Jade Cargill. Jade Cargill better be giving Bianca Belair every gift, every flower, anything she can give her, because Bianca Belair is handing Jade Cargill a career on a silver platter. And so does Bianca roll over for Tiffany Stratton? Do we get a Tiffany Stratton, Jade Cargill semifinal? There's so many questions to ask. I have the answer right here. And if you guys tune in next Monday, I'll open up this piece of paper so you can see who I predicted for that match. But this premium live event of King and Queen of the Ring is shaping up pretty nicely. It's not a bad card. I'm done hating on cards. I tried to get back. It's 2 years in a row that at Backlash I was like, nah, and it ended up being a fun card. This one's starting to come together pretty nicely. I'm assuming another 5-match card. That seems to be the sweet spot for Triple H. He seems to be able to hit every up and down beat he wants to hit on a 5-match card. You got Becky versus Liv. That'll be good. I'm more excited about that than I thought I would be. You got Sammy versus Gable versus Bronson. That should be good. There's been storytelling there. This has been building for a long time. Do we pull the trigger on Gable? Do we continue to see Gable spiral out of control? And then we have the 2 final matches from each respective tournament, which I'm not predicting yet. I'll predict later in the week. And then you have Logan Paul versus Cody Rhodes. And this is the one I want to talk about. This is the one that I saw the IWC lose their shit about. Can the IWC shut the fuck up for long enough for me to explain why Logan Paul and Cody Rhodes make sense as a main event? Who the hell did you think Cody was going to wrestle at King of the Ring? This ticks every box. Logan Paul has not disappointed in a main event yet. Yet, for some reason, every time he's put into a spot where he needs to perform, the IWC begins to complain. But guys, everyone else who's worth a shit is tied up in the King of the Ring tournament. And you absolutely don't want to use the Tony Khan style of booking and bring somebody off of a tournament loss and give them an immediate title shot. That doesn't make sense. All of this damn crying about Logan Paul has to stop. IWC, it's so annoying. And I'm calling it right now. I'll tell you what we're leaving King of the Ring talking about. George Janko is going to attack Logan Paul and cost him the match. This whole Logan Paul impulsive drama is a work that will play into the main event of the King of the Ring. You heard it here first. Don't forget where you heard that shit. I'm the one who said it. It will happen at King of the Ring. And it will be the only thing that is talked about that following Sunday and Monday in the wrestling world. Let's finish off with a final blow to the IWC. Finish him. This one's gonna get me killed. This one's gonna have the IWC coming out of their caves to talk to me. But I'm so tired. I'm so tired. Can we please stop with the overhyping of Will Ospreay? Can we please stop? I get it. He flips around a ring pretty good. He has pretty, he has great matches. They're great. But once you've seen one Will Ospreay match, you've seen them all. And he self-admits that he can't cut a promo. He self-admits he can't look straight into a camera, and now he's blaming his ADHD for his inability to cut a promo. Excuses, excuses, excuses. Leave it to the IWC, the king of the IWC, to use ADHD as a reason that he can't just get the job done, that he can't just get better at something that is a part of being a professional wrestler. Will Ospreay is one-dimensional. He can wrestle, but he can't do the other things that you have to do to be a top guy in professional wrestling. So the truth is, the reason Will Ospreay doesn't go to WWE is not because Tony Khan paid him more money. It's not because of the dream matches. It's because of the grind. It's because of reality. It's because he doesn't want to have to tell entertaining stories. He doesn't want to have to cut entertaining promos. He likes to stay indie because the IWC only respects how you wrestle. And the more I hear the IWC talk about Will Ospreay, the more I realize he's a dweeb who can only wrestle. He can't talk. He doesn't have the personality. He doesn't have the complete package. So before we run around and give out the title of best professional wrestler in the world, let's be smart. Let's remember there's more than just flipping around the ring. And I get it. It happens every week. Some dipshit's going to clip this, and they're going to put it on Instagram, and the IWC is going to cry about what an asshole I am because I have my own opinions and I don't subscribe to what the internet mob wants me to think or wants to force on the casual fans. But that's why I appreciate you guys. You guys let me talk. You guys let me say what I'm thinking, and then we have a discussion about it. Just like you guys can hit the comments and let me know your thoughts on today's episode. And while you're there, make sure to join the Casual Wrestling faction. The link is in the description of this video. Thank you guys, as always, for taking the time to hang out. I am Nerdy D. You guys are the Casual Wrestling faction, and we will talk more about pro wrestling tomorrow.